Hey guys, we are back with another episode of Synovial Marketing Masterclass. Today we have Pam from Pam's Lash Boutique here with us. We are so excited to get to share her story. She is one of my best friends and my lash artist that always keeps my lashes on fleek. So thank you so much, Pam, for being here with us today.
Hey, thank you for having me. This is so exciting.
Yes, you are our second guest, so hopefully at this time we are on point and everything is good. I'm excited for this interview because we always have a therapy session. You have been my therapist for years now, as well as my lash artist. So I feel a little bit more at ease, a little bit more comfortable today, which is nice. It's good.
Yeah, and this is my first time also doing like a podcast like this, so this is gonna be new territory for me. But I'm glad I'm doing it with you because we are comfortable together.
Yes, yeah, it's definitely, we have the best time. So tell us a little bit about Pam's Lash Boutique and kind of what you do as a lash artist.
So I started Pam's Lash Boutique in 2000. I think it's been 14 or 15. I don't even. No, it says 2000. No, not even. You're probably gonna have to edit this. I moved here in 2014, and I did
Yeah.
lash. I've been doing lashes for 5 years, so it's been less than that. But yeah, I just was getting a degree in chemistry, and I have a minor in math. I was miserable working in the service industry, and I decided to pick up something different. I could work from home, and it'd be easy. I've always loved beauty, and here I am, 5 years in, still doing lashes and not doing chemistry or math.
That
No,
I think is so crazy. So where are you actually from originally? Like you came here from,
Belgium. So I moved
okay.
here when I was 19 years old to go to
Oh my,
college. And I thought when I started college, I wanted to go to med school to be a plastic surgeon. So still beauty industry-ish,
yeah.
just not like lashes, but pretty close to it, yes. And actually in high school, I even thought about going to esthetician school already. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm going to go to college. I'm going to go to college and back to my original plan, just esthetician school. So,
Wow.
and
So
lashes,
you
yeah.
have a degree, you have a degree in
Chemistry and
chemistry.
math.
Okay.
Chemistry and math.
Okay. That's crazy. And then got into the lash industry and the lashes I feel like have taken you so far. Like it's crazy how that's happened. You started and now it's like
Yes, and I didn't even think it was going to be this successful because when I first started, my goal was just to survive through like through my end part of college. I was like just so miserable working nights. I want to work days. I want to be flexible. So I was like, okay, well, let me do this on the side. And by the time I graduated, it was like 6 months later. I was like, okay, I'm making more money than I would as a chemist. Why? What am I doing this? And I'm more passionate about this than I am as a chemist. So I
Mm,
just kept going. I was like, well, I'm going to go to esthetician school. It's only like 3 months. I went and then I was like, okay, I'm definitely going to make this a real business. It's going to be, this is going to be it. And with the beauty of it only being a 3 months program, if I don't want it anymore, I can just move on and go pick up another career, or
yeah.
use my degree for something else.
Yeah, the craziest part I feel like is the fact that you're more successful now, I feel like than people that do go get those degrees. And so that for me is like the inspiring portion of like you went a different route and did a different thing and it actually turned out to be more successful and you have that freedom of like making your own money. Like you can decide how much you make rather than a job
Then
as a
some,
chemist where
yes,
you're working for somebody.
exactly. And it kind of just fell into my lap, to be honest. Like it just kind of happened. So I honestly did think at some point I was like, I'm just doing this temporary. And then when I saw the potential, like income wise and stuff like that, and I do really enjoy what I do, I'm like, why am I going to be bored in a lab, not living off my passion, and not financially free when I could just be doing what I want, working for myself, and making it happen and be happy. Like
Yeah,
there was
100%.
no, and I know it's not as classy as most people. Like it's true when I tell people I'm a lash tech, they're like, oh, and I'm like, but I have a degree in chemistry. Like, wow. I'm like,
Wow. Yeah.
that impresses you more? That's really, you think it's that impressive?
But
Like,
the interesting part to me is that they don't know, like, I guess the real like financial side. So I know because I've known you and we've been talking and I get to hear the awesome financial side of it. But I mean, you have a rental property, you have your
Mm-hmm.
property, you have your vehicle, like you have all of these things and all of that was made to come to fruition through doing lashes. People think
Yes.
of like kind of like a hairstylist, like, oh, you're a hairstylist, but it's like some of these people are making way more than like,
Oh yeah. It's
regular
so much.
people.
Exactly. It's hard. It's very hard. You have to like build your clientele. It's really hard at first. I feel
Mm,
like that's once you build that clientele, it only goes up from that point. When
mm,
you don't even realize how fast it happens, but when it happens, you're like, holy crap, like I'm fully booked. I'm, if I could multiply myself, I'd be like, it'd just be fantastic, you know?
yeah.
Um, it's, yeah, it's really stressful. And I know a lot of people think, oh, you work for yourself, you can do whatever you want. With my job, I have every 2 weeks I need to see people. So
Mm,
I can't go on vacation for months away and just give up my job and be like, oh, bye, because this is all my business that's going, like, that's the possibility of going with someone else. And I don't like it comes with its ups and downs. But
yes.
honestly, it's so worth it. Like, I'll take this any day. I prefer going on vacation 2 weeks a few times a year than going for 6 months. And that just means I get to do lashes.
Yeah.
You mentioned in your previous, like, I listened to your previous podcast, and I hope everybody else has. You mentioned something about being an entrepreneur, how you felt like a lot of people are kind of like are entrepreneurs, and I didn't realize I was an entrepreneur until I started this here.
Mm,
I always knew I was more money savvy, and I like always was trying to find ways to make money and to make it. I was always figuring my ways around,
yeah.
but I didn't realize like someone one day was like, oh, so you really are an entrepreneur? And I was like, me? Okay, well, I guess you're right. It is. Yeah, I guess I do. I am. It was so like, and people go to college to become that. They're like, oh, I want to be an entrepreneur. It
Mhm.
doesn't happen. I don't think most people it happens like that. It's like you have the hustle or you don't.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah, and we talk about that so much. I feel like me and you, because we're a lot alike on that side of things, is like you're either in that grind and hustle and that like it's intrinsic like drive, like it's internal drive. You either
Hmm.
have that or you don't. It's not like you just start a business and it just happens. Like you have to have something inside of you to like grind and do that and to, be there for it.
Yeah, because a lot of people don't realize like when you work corporate, you have your bad days. Those bad days are not as bad as like our bad days. Because if something fails, we don't get paid at the end of the day. They do.
Yeah.
Like if you work salary for corporate America, there's a day where things don't work out. They're not. It's fine. You're still gonna get your pay in 2 weeks. You're still getting that paycheck. Us, if that doesn't work, we're out. Like, and
Yes.
so those hard days are so hard that if you're not a true hustler, you would give up.
Yes.
Most people
Yeah.
give
I was
up.
just talking to somebody about that because not only like the pay side of things, but like ultimately, if something goes wrong, like I know if something goes wrong with my marketing or something gets posted wrong or an ad goes wrong or whatever, however many people I have on my team, ultimately it comes down to me. And like with you, if something were to go wrong or somebody was unhappy, that's coming back to you. Like it's your
Yeah,
business. You know what I mean? If we're working for corporate and something bad happens or whatever, okay, that's their name. That's not like on
exactly.
me as a person. So I think that's a big part of it too, is it's very like there's a lot on you to
Yes.
stay
And
on.
I'm not trying to speak bad on anybody who does work for corporate America. I think it's great to work for someone else. You just have to see the risk factor. If you're someone who does not like risk, don't do
Mm,
it. If you are okay with risk because you want to be able to have the nice things, you want to be able to provide for your family, to have even free time for your family because you work for yourself and you can rearrange your schedule on your own, then
mm,
it just really, you have to pick what suits your lifestyle best. There's nothing wrong with wanting to
yeah.
work for corporate America. It's just, you have to pick your battles and pick what you
Yeah.
truthfully want.
It's a different mindset for sure. It's just it's two different ways, because then there's, there's those people that do make good money in corporate and they're doing that and they're happy with that, and that's fine. But with this
Hmm.
way, it's like two different ways of life, you know what I mean? And it's two different personalities, I feel like, too. Like it's not, it's,
Yes, but
I
I
don't
feel
know.
like then when you, even if you make, let's say, the six figure working for corporate America, you're still replaceable. The person under
Yes.
you is just waiting. And I feel like with our jobs, we're not that, there's a bunch of Lash people and there's a bunch of marketing people, I know, but our
Mhm.
clients, to them, we're not replaceable. They want
Yes.
us. They appreciate
Yeah.
us. So it's so much better. Like I feel like deeper than that. It's like nice to feel like appreciate also on a personal level. I feel like sometimes when you work for those big companies, you make a mistake a few times, boom, you're out. It's
Yes.
like you're still. It's just this fine line where you have to see where you want to be at, and I'm glad even like when it comes to taxes. When you work for corporate
Mm,
America, your company pays your taxes, right? I'm glad that I
yeah.
get to do whatever I want my tax money, and I obviously pay my taxes, but I have way
Please
more
do.
ways to pay move around because you can do more as an entrepreneur than you can as if you work for someone.
Yes. Yeah, that's another side that I like. I'm so glad that I found you as my lash artist, because not only do are you my therapist on all personal aspects, we talk about all the things, but we talk about the business and the money side of things. So talking about like taxes and talking about like rental properties and stocks, we have talked about
Yep.
all things business, which I think is so cool to kind of get to dive into. And I feel like who started it first? Was it you or me that started the stock conversation first? Somebody got into stocks.
I got into stock during COVID. That's when I started being interested in it. So I don't know. I feel like I remember mentioning to you that I bought like Norwegian, and then you were like, "Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I've been doing it too." And then we both got going on it and stuff like that. So I think it was kind of at the same. Maybe I mentioned it slightly, or maybe you mentioned it
Yeah,
slightly.
we
I was like, "Oh yeah, I
realized
bought
that we were
Norwegian."
doing it.
Yeah, we both liked it, and I mean,
Yeah.
I have to say, I feel like most women aren't very interested in stock markets. Um,
Mhm.
so it's also nice to have a friend to be able to talk to about that. That's not like a male, because most male are like, oh, and I trade like this and I do this, and I'm like, okay, okay,
Yeah, okay. Yeah. And
yeah,
that's been like, I know I've talked to you about it, but like that's been such an interesting thing, is like I had never before meeting you, I got into stocks around COVID and kind of was listening to podcasts and audiobooks that were saying, the stocks dropped during COVID. So I got in and was playing around, and then I mentioned it to you. We started talking about it more, and then I really dove into it, went really hardcore and really started researching and getting into that and reading more financial books. But it's so interesting talking about the guy aspect and dating and those types of things, because that just not even dating, but in relationships, just friendships and things like that, I would bring it up and be like, "Oh, do you have stocks? Do you have a portfolio? Like, what is that?"
yeah.
And like so many people are like,
Oh, when
"No, like,
I tell my clients to save for the retirement, they look like me like I'm an alien. They're like,
yeah."
who are you? I'm like, no, please, does your job offer a 401k? And they're like, I don't know. I'm like, how do you not know? Do they
How do you
match
not
you?
know?
If they match you, what are you doing? What are you
Mm,
doing? They're giving you free money and you don't even want it. Like,
yes.
and I get stock is like harder and, but like, you can't even just know if your company does offer you retirement benefits, because that's where I started doing the stock stuff, because I was like, oh, I want to make sure I have money for when I retire. At the time, I
Mm,
already had a Roth IRA. I was already working on that. And I think it's around that time that I was able to start maxing it out too. So I was like, okay, I need to be able to put more towards than just that because we're capped. So no, it's and yes, my friends, a lot of friends don't get it. I'm like, oh, like they're like, oh, I want to spend $200 at the bars. Okay, well, I'm gonna buy $200 worth of Amazon. We'll see from there. Like
yeah.
Amazon the stock, because that's gonna bring me
Yeah.
way further than my 5 drinks at beach bars.
A
And
hundred percent.
it's like people are like, oh, I don't have the money to do this. Yes, you do. You're just choosing not to, and that's
Not.
and it puts the gap between. And I'm not like, again, I'm not crapping on anybody for not doing it, but it's like, oh, I don't have money. I don't have money. I can't do this. I don't have money. Do you have money to be doing dumb stuff like that? What?
Yeah, you do have the money. It's where you're putting it. And that, like, that in our relationship has been the best part, is because I'm able to have someone with that like mindset and be able to talk about those things, like, saving up for retirement. And you recently got the rental property, right? That was within the
Mhm.
past year,
Yes, it was
right?
in, I signed for it in November, at the beginning of November. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so
So,
I bought a rental in my community where I live already now. One of my neighbors, I mentioned it to her a few months back. I was like, hey, if you ever sell your other, she had 2 units in here. I was like, if you ever want to sell it, let me know. I'll be interested in buying it. And she's like, okay, okay. And 2 months later, she's like, hey, I need to talk to you. And I was like, I thought it was going to be about something completely different. And I'm like, okay, what's up? She's like, do you want to buy it? And I was like, uh, cool, sure. And it was super easy. We agreed on a price really easily. I bought it easy peasy, and I've had tenants since February. Yeah, since February. It took us a little bit to get tenants because it
mm,
was like a weird time, during the holidays and stuff like that. But I got tenants, the military friendly, so super easy. The military pays me for them every month, and there you go.
that is crazy. That is one of my like goals, to
Yes.
eventually have like rental properties and investment properties and things like that. So I think that's so awesome that, you were able to do that and you're on that track.
But it
So,
took me, I'm 5 years into my business. So I really think
yeah.
that 5 years in, you probably be able to do that as well.
Yes.
I really think it's just, yeah, you can make it totally happen. If that's your goal, there's always ways. It has the opportunity, like it just fell into my lap. I feel like it just happened when it's meant to be. And
Mm,
that my goal is to have this one paid off as soon as possible, and I'm saving up also to try to buy another one soon. My goal is to buy one once a year. If I can get on
yeah.
the track of buying one once a year or once every 2 years. The economy right now is a little bit weird, but once everything calmed down, I think there's ways. And I feel
To
like
do
everybody
it.
should want to buy investment properties. We should
Yes.
all.
Can we educate everybody to
Yeah,
save
let's
for
do it.
retirement and to save for investment properties? And like, I wish that there was more people out there that like I'm sure there is. I just haven't found them, but there like
Yeah,
needs to be a group and a community, and those are the people that I'm trying to surround myself with and trying to learn from and want to talk to. But people that are our age, 20s, 30s,
yeah.
that are saving for retirement and have investment properties and are doing big things, and maybe they're entrepreneurs, maybe they're not, but really just have a bigger sense of life, not just, going to the beach bars and just wasting
Yes.
money and just living day to day, like, that's a big part of it.
And I think it actually really isn't that difficult, and anybody should be interested. If you work any job and you make money, once you want to stretch that dollar as far as you can't,
Mm.
like
Yeah.
a dollar 20 years ago was worth way more than it is to this day. So now
Mm.
it's really, I think we should all try, and everybody should be interested in it. So it's really, um, I, I think I was really interested in finances because of being foreign. I think in Europe, we don't discuss finance in school as much, but
Mm.
I feel like our parents are all way more money savvy. Like
That's
people
so
don't,
interesting.
they don't eat out there a lot. People don't eat at the restaurant a lot. We don't do drive-through. Drive-through is not really a thing it started a little bit. People are eating out a little bit more, but it's still like really, so people like keep their money and they save up a lot to be able to go on nice vacation. I feel like all my
Mm.
foreign friends, their family, they go on really nice family vacation. Not expensive, but just nice. We go to nice places. It's easier to travel there too, don't get me wrong. But I feel like
Mm.
parents will, like, I would remember some of my friends, like, their parents would be like, oh, we're not spending money on this now because we are about to go on vacation there soon, or we're saving up for
Oh,
this. So the whole saving aspect, like, came to me way faster than I think here in the States. It's not as, I feel like here it's more of like a hush hush subject. People are like embarrassed and
100%. Well,
don't think we should
now
talk about it. Like,
I feel like it's really weird because here in America, like growing up, I grew up in like a upper middle class like family, but it was almost like, now looking back, it was very like keeping up with the Joneses, like in my situation. We didn't have money, but it was like we didn't act like we didn't have money. Like we just did. I'm sure there was a lot of credit cards. There was a lot of putting stuff,
Mm-hmm.
on credit and just kind of getting by. But I feel like it's either that situation or it's a very scarcity mindset. Like people grow up with a very scarcity mindset of like, oh, we're not going to do that because we don't have money, or we can't do that because we don't have money. So then people go into their adult life thinking like, oh, I can never have that. Oh, I can't do that because, I don't have money. Or,
Yeah.
there's some people that are saying that and they're going to Starbucks and they're spending that, they have the money, but they have that scarcity mindset of like, oh, that's too big of a dream, or oh, I can't do that because of their childhood.
Yeah.
So there's just it's a different
And then
way of thinking.
if you think you can't have it, then why would you work hard for it? Then what's the
Yes.
point of even trying? And you mentioned the keeping up with the Jones thing. Actually, I went to private school back home. Private school
Mhm.
home is not what it is in America. It's really cheap. It's like $1,000 a year. There's no. But I went to private school, and all my friends, like their parents had like big Range Rovers and big car, and all my friends
Mhm.
had these giant mansion. But I remember, like I had some friends in the winter, we wouldn't want to go to their house. We'd go to my parents' house because my parents lived in a really small house. Like we had one bathroom and one toilet. It was like, that's it. It was really small. But my parents could pay for the heat. Most parents out there had
Oh,
these giant houses, but they didn't have the heater on, or they barely put it on just because they had this mansion to. And my dad was always like, yeah, see, we have a small house, but you're always warm at home. Your friends always want to
mm,
all come here because it's hot inside the house. Same thing with cars. I would be like, Dad, why can't I get a Range Rover when I turn 18? Because that's the driving age there. And I got a
yeah.
smart car. It was $2,000 and it was 2002. It's a great car and I love that thing. I miss it so much. But he was like, you'll see, you understand one day why we don't have fancy cars.
Yes.
Because
Mm,
I think my parents are probably some of the only people that had paid off cars out of
yes.
all the other people. And he's like, but we
Mm,
have money to do things. And my parents were buying investment property and they were being smart with their money. So they didn't keep up with the Jones. And I felt like when I was younger, I was like, that sucks. We don't have the nice car and we don't have this. Like, why? Like, everybody probably thinks my family's poor, blah, blah, blah. No, it's
yeah.
like, they were so smart.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
smart.
That was one of the craziest things for me. I wish my parents would have had more of an open conversation with me about money because I will never forget. I had a conversation with my dad. I was graduating high school and we were going to college and I was trying to figure out what college I was going to. And I wanted to go to my top school was like an out of state school. And out of state tuition is like ridiculous. And
Yes.
I remember going to my dad and I was like, why haven't you saved up money for me to go to an out of state school? Like all of my friends are going to LSU and Stanford and whatever, and like all of these big schools. And I have to go to some in state community college because we didn't have any money. And
Hmm.
but I grew up with this keeping up with the Joneses thinking that we had money. Like I never knew that we didn't have money. So
Yeah.
then when it actually came down to it and he had to be like, hey, we don't actually have like, this money. I wish overall there would have been more of a conversation from the get-go of like, hey, this is what this is. Like this is how you save money. Like this is, I never remember having a money conversation.
But do you
So,
realistically think your parents knew back then how to save? Do you think they knew and they
no.
were, see, then you
Yeah.
can't really, it's hard to blame those situations because it's like, I wish you taught me, but if they don't know. And that's why
Yeah.
now I think with Instagram, TikTok, especially since COVID, there's no excuse for not being educated.
A
You all have an
hundred percent.
iPhone, even if you have an Android, we all have podcasts. You can go to the bookstore and buy a book about it. Back then, I
Mm.
don't even think it was book because it's still a hush hush subject.
Yeah.
There's no more excuse to not know about finances. None.
And I think that's where like I get so angry, and I know you kind of have the same thing too
Oh
with what
yeah.
you just said, is like our generation, like there is no reason to say you don't have money, that you're broke, that you like if like there's so many resources, podcasts, audiobooks, books, like just taking the time for like to research and to listen to those, and like even for personal growth, like there's so
Yes.
much stuff. I'm super big into that. Like I'm really into listening to those podcasts and audiobooks, and I just want to be better, especially now that I have my son, like talking about, my
Oh
parents
yeah.
didn't know so they couldn't tell me. And like I don't want that for Carter. Like I want to be able to teach him like, hey, this is what you should do, and set him up for, wealth in the future rather than just like not talking about it. So, yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
It's interesting you say that with teaching Carter. I love that you're trying to teach him, but that you're not only trying to build wealth for yourself and then giving it all up to him. I listened
Mhm.
to this podcast that called Choose FI, and I've really like I've been like back to episode one right now. I'm like restarting all of it, and
Yes.
they're like I want to be like financially free fully by the time I'm 35. But one of the guys in the podcast was saying I don't know if I believe in generational wealth, and I was like, why would anybody say that? Like, you made all
Yeah.
this money and you don't want to give it to your children? And then I like kind of reflect on it. I'm like, what type of brat am I to think that like my parents should work so hard for me and I should just sit on my butt and wait for it to just fly off the no,
Mm,
it's not how it works. So, and I do understand his thing. I'm not saying I don't believe in generational wealth, but I think it's good to be able to get yourself set up for your kids in the future and to set your kids up to be able to also be successful on their own. And
a
whatever they
hundred
get
percent.
from us is just extra.
A
That's
hundred
all.
percent. And that's the biggest thing for me. I have dealt with that myself is like my dad has created wealth for himself and but I've never been one of those now reading all these books and listening to these audiobooks and all of that. I've never been one to turn to him for that because
Mm-hmm.
like you said, I respect that he built that. Like he
Yeah,
started digging holes, in this construction company and has worked his way up for 30 plus years and now has wealth, but that's not mine to go over and be like,
yeah.
hey, give me some. He's done all of this stuff. So it's important that I feel like it's important that I'm teaching myself how to do that and maybe taking some lessons from him of how he did that, but
Mm-hmm.
not going straight for that like generational wealth, as in like, I'm coming to get money from you. Like, that's not mine to have?
And then there's no, how can you enjoy someone else's, like, how can you enjoy money that's not actually, you didn't work hard
Mm,
for? I don't want someone
that's
else's
so
money. I
good.
want my own money. Like, to me,
Yes.
if I worked really hard for it, if I worked all day and let's say I got like $500 a day or whatever, I want that 500 to be worked from me. I don't want someone to just hand me 500. I mean, every once in a while, I'm sure it's nice to get it from someone. But like, other than that, like, if this was my life and I was just waiting on someone to give me the money every day, like, this is, I don't like what then what's my purpose? I
Yes.
know
Yeah.
it's deeper than that, but ultimately like then what am I doing? I'm just existing on the planet and not trying to provide even for myself
A
because
hundred
I
percent.
feel like the way I have made money is also a way I've learned so much about myself and my job. I meet
Mhm.
amazing people. I have amazing connection. Like my friends, I met them all through my business. So I'm like, the way I made money is not even just about money. It's all about everything that I get. And everybody at work, we meet people. It's cool. It's fun. So what you're gonna do?
Yes.
Sit on your butt at home and just hope that you're gonna meet people and have connection. And I understand like stay at home moms and stuff, it's different. They get taken care of by
Hmm.
their husband because their job is to take care of their children. Completely for
Yeah.
that, I understand. But other than in those cases, or if someone's sick or something, like in other cases, if you don't have children or you don't have a real reason to not work, you're just gonna wait for it to fall down from the sky. Like what? No.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I don't know if it was this morning or yesterday morning, but I was thinking about if I didn't have to work, like let's say I just got this huge lump sum of money and I didn't have to work, I would not be one of those people that would be happy. Like I would be miserable and probably depressed
Oh
because
yeah.
I love my work. Like I love what I do. I wake up in the morning and I want to go and do what I'm doing. And if I didn't have that, I would be really sad because it is like my friends, like my clients are my friends and I talk to them and
And you make
it's
something
more
during
than
your
money.
job. You make something, you're like, wow, this is beautiful. I did this. And the person
Yes.
I work for, like that I work for, enjoys what I did. Look at this. Like
Yes.
it's in the inside, it's like, this is nice. They're happy and they're happy what I did. I'm happy what I did for them. I enjoy doing. That's a big word. I enjoy doing what I did for them. And yes, it
Yes.
happens that I get financially compensated for it as well. Because that's how it works. We need to all live, right? But the beauty of it
Yeah.
is that being able to do what you love, and most people can't say that about themselves. They can't say, I love what I do.
That to me is like because I kind of had both sides of things. Like I had the 9 to 5 job that everyone told me like this is what you should do. And then I pivoted and went to this job that I love and I'm so passionate about, and I've created for myself, this job. And I can understand it being scary because I was scared, like I'm leaving this stable thing and everyone said this is what you should do and going to do something that I loved. But I can't imagine, it makes me sad for people that will never get to experience that, like have something like they love their job every day. Like it that comes in many forms. Maybe that is working for corporate and they love what they do
Mm-hmm.
in corporate and they're happy to go there every day. But just there's going to be people that are not going to love what they do every day. And that's really sad. Like I have been in that
Yes.
feeling of crying on
Yes.
the way to work and crying, on Sundays because I was so unhappy and so depressed. And so that is like the biggest thing for me, and that's kind of why another one of my whys of starting Synovial Marketing and definitely starting this Synovial Marketing Masterclass podcast is sharing that other people's stories, in business with people and telling people that like you can do something that you love in different forms. It all comes in
And
different
it, and
forms.
you're not a weirdo for not wanting to work a 9 to 5.
Yes,
But
yes,
you're not a weirdo for wanting to work a 9 to 5 as well. You can,
yeah.
it's okay. It's okay. But just, I feel like a lot of people still feel like they're kind of like outcaster because they're not comfortable working a 9 to 5. No, it's fine.
Mhm.
There's a place in society for you too, I promise. I just like, I
Yes.
feel like I was scared for that for a long time. I'm like, is there really, I look like an idiot to people. I'm here, like, I do lashes. They're
Yes.
like, what does this girl do? She sits like and does lashes like for 1 hour out of the day, and she la di da the rest of the day, probably, you know. And I felt weird. And no, you need to accept everybody. We all have different modes of society, and we all want different things, and that's okay. But if someone does not want to work 9 to 5, that's completely fine. Can come be our friend, and
Yes.
there's plenty of ways to be comfortable and be happy with yourself without working 9 to 5, and it's cool. And if you love
Yes.
working nine
And
to
I
five,
mean,
you can be our friend too. But it's just you need to have
it's
aspiration for yourself, you know.
it's all
So
in like I know we talked about recently Ramith Sethi's I Will Teach You to Be
oh,
Rich book, and like in
amazing,
love I'm listening to it again.
amazing.
But
He is
he
it.
talks
He is
about
it.
it is so
Like
good. Like the show, the Netflix show, the book, I'm listening to it for probably the third time,
oh, he's
but it's so
incredible.
good. So good. And he talks about planning out what your rich life looks like. That's not what
Yes.
everyone's rich life looks like, but what does your rich life look like in the place of what do you want to wake up every day and do? What are you happy doing? What does your happiness look like ultimately?
Yeah, and actually, I do something that's really against a lot of podcast gurus, the financial gurus and stuff. They're all like, "Don't buy a fancy car." That's the main thing. Do not buy a fancy car. That's like the
Mm.
first thing you will hear on any. Don't buy a nice car. Okay, so
Yes.
I have a nice, beautiful 2015 BMW. I bought it from a family friend. 10 grand, super easy. And that was the previous car. Now my new car, I have a 2023 Mustang Mach-E, and yes, it was a more expensive car. I got tax
Mm.
deduction out of it though, so it did help. I get to write it off of my business. Financially, it is not the smartest move. She's not cheap, but I'm happy with it. I don't drive often. I want to drive a car that makes me feel safe, a car that I think is
Mm.
pretty, a car that I really enjoy driving. And that's why I got it. That is part of my rich life. Having a nice car is what I wanted for myself. And that's okay.
Yes.
So, like, and all these people are like, oh, don't buy a nice car, don't do this, don't do that. No, I made sure that I save more than I pay for my car payments. I made sure I had
Mm.
my investment property first. I made sure I had all my ducks in a row before I went ahead and bought the car. And my car is like my little personal reward for it. So it's still okay to get nice things. You just have to balance it out. So I know that because I have that, if I still want to save, I can't go to dinner every night at a fancy restaurant. That's just how it is. I
Yes.
just know it. My happy life is to have a nice car, and that's what it comes
Yeah.
down for me. And some other people, it's other things, and I don't judge
Yeah.
them. It's we all have our own thing.
100%. And I think that is just one of the many things that that book does so well. Rami Sethi, I Will Teach You to Be Rich, is it really says focus on what your happiness, what your expenses are. Like your happiness is driving your nice car. Some people it's having nice shoes, but you have to have sacrifices that come along with that. You can't have the nice shoes and go out every night and do all these things like that. That's not, or you can't live above your means. So if you said, yeah, my rich life is having this nice car, but I don't really have the money to have it, I'm going to go put it on a credit card. That's not really a thing. Like you made sure you could afford it, you made sure you were doing the proper things, but that is part of your rich life. So you incorporated that in. You know what I mean? Like that makes you
Yeah.
happy every day.
And I
So,
know that I don't have children yet, so I can be at a point where I'm like, I can get myself a really nice car. By the time it's paid
hmm,
off, that'll probably be around the time I will start having kids. So I'm like,
yeah,
okay, she'll be paid off, and I'll start trying to have kids by the time she's done paying off. So I know that's going to be an expense less. She'll be completely paid off, and I won't have to worry about it anymore. You just have to plan stuff out, and you just can't have it all, and it's okay. And I feel like I can't have it all yet. But like,
yes.
if I keep doing the
Mm.
way I'm doing everything, by the time I'm like way older, I'll be able to have all the time the things that I think I value and I want in my life.
Yeah, 100%. And that's something that I have to think about myself too, is I get so caught up in like that race of like where I'm at in life, but we have to step back and be like, we're in our 20s and 30s, it takes time. It didn't just happen overnight. It takes,
Yeah,
it takes time and the the progression, the path that we're on is so positive that good things are coming over time. You know what I mean? If you're doing the right things now, only better things are going to come moving forward.
yeah, and that's like what people they don't see the end goal. And I got to the point where I'm doing what I wanted to do and I'm comfortable where I'm at. And I got to even cut my hours a little bit because I realized that I was unhappy working so hard. And that is one thing with a job. You like working for yourself. You can work as many hours as you want. Nobody's stopping you.
Mm,
But in my body, I started being burnt out and I was working way too much and
mm.
everything else in my life was going to shambles. And that's why now I got to the point where I'm like, okay, I can plan ahead and I can be on the track I want to be, but I don't have to kill myself for it too. And
Yes.
sometimes it also comes down to that. Sometimes just being happy is not working too many hours. And that means less nice dinners, nice shoes, or whatever. But at least I get to rest. And that's great
Yeah.
too. So,
Yeah, I completely
yeah.
agree. Well, I just want to thank you. Before we get off, I want to give everyone the chance. What is a way that they can find you, your social media on all platforms, all of those
Just
things?
Pam's Lash Boutique, mostly on Instagram. I have a TikTok. I'm trying to be better at posting. Very hard. I don't have much time. Yeah, just Pam's Lash Boutique. But I am hoping at some point to do lashes and be more educating on finances as well. So
Mm.
who knows? In a few months, I might have a TikTok handle for that too.
Yes, we
So.
definitely am going to work with you on that because you are my financial
Mm.
person. We talk finances all the time. You're a great resource for that. So
Thanks.
definitely stay tuned for Pam's finance account coming up soon,
And if
hopefully.
anybody
But
ever, I know if there's another lash tag that you can watch this podcast or listen to it, like always hit me up. Even like business owners, I don't mind. I love what I do.
mm,
I wish everybody could just live off their passion. So if anybody ever needs to hit me up for anything, even if it's to like cut grass, like that's fine. We can talk business still, you know.
yes,
So
Pam talks to everyone. She's so sweet. Well, thank you so much for being on today and taking the time to speak with me. I will be
thanks for
seeing
having
you
me.
here, I'm sure, shortly to be doing my lashes, but I really appreciate you coming on the
Yay!
podcast today.
Of course, no problem. Thank you for having me.
Yes, see you later.
See ya.